Hello and welcome to the Transformation channel. In the last video, we talked about Agile Transformation, top-down versus bottom-up approach, and in that particular video, we looked at the first 5 aspects and what would be the pros and cons, or what would be it would be different when you are looking at those from top down versus bottom up approach. I am Nivarthi Jairam, and in this channel we talk all about agile transformation in the current series. And in this session we will be looking at the next 5 elements that would be little different when you are doing or undertaking transformation from top down versus a bottom up approach. Let's head straight into the session and we will look at the next 5 aspects. The first of the aspect that we want to look at is, as a change agent, what is the level of influence you have when you are doing a transformation or executing a transformation, bottom up versus top down. When you are talking about top down, as a transformation leader, the level of influence you have is pretty higher because you have the buy-in from the topmost leadership of the organization. That means you have greater support to run the transformation, and also a greater level of influence from approaching a leaders, getting the time from leaders, your ability to engage the leadership, and also probably drive the transformation at much faster pace. You are having everything going for you when you are driving it from a transformation perspective. As a transformation leader or as a change agent, you would probably feel very much empowered and in control when the transformation is driven top down, whereas when it is from bottom up, it's more by your personality that you have to influence rather than by your position. So or by the authority that comes from the support or the position you hold. Because when it is top down driven, that means you as a transformation leader are also positioned at a much higher level in the hierarchy as compared to you would be when you are driving the transformation bottom up. And that means when you are driving the transformation bottom up, your personal influencing skills would be tested to the maximum, and how you are then able to articulate and present the benefits of the transformation that is being undertaken to the top management, to the senior leadership, to the business stakeholders would drive or would impact or would influence the level of influence you would have. And that means your personal skills as a change agent, as the influencing skills you have, would be tested to the maximum when you are driving the transformation bottom up. That is the first element for us to look at. The next element in the approach that we are looking at is the transformation risk. Now, I think this is no brainer, because when you are driving the transformation top down, the risk is much higher because you as an organization, you are going with a approach of transforming the organization completely, and that means there is a greater risk that you are undertaking. And as a transformation leader, again, your ability to drive the transformation with minimal disruption to the ongoing operations, that means how you are able to strategize so that the business continuity is maintained or not impacted while you are driving transformation at a much bigger scale, is something which comes across as a bigger challenge, and we'll talk about those in the transformation challenges as well. But the risk in top down approach is much higher. Risk of failure if you do go that path is much higher as compared to bottom up, because then the risks are more constrained to that particular IT or business unit where you are driving the transformation, as against what it could be at an organization level. So in short, the risk is much higher when you are driving it top down versus when you are driving it bottom up. The next element for us to look at is the experimentation opportunity. The experimentation opportunity, again, you might feel that because when you are driving top down, you might have a bigger opportunity to experiment, but actually it's the other way around. When you are driving things top down, even though you have greater backing or greater influence from top level leadership, but the expectation of results is also much stronger, and also you are expected to probably turn things around at a much faster pace. That leaves, and also the level of risk that you are dealing with is much higher. That means the level of experimentation that you could undertake when you are driving it top down is much lesser as compared to when you are driving it bottom up. When you are driving it bottom up, the experimentation opportunity is higher, and even if you take some learnings or some failures, it's much more constrained. The impact is much more constrained as against when you are driving it top down, because you tend to do it at a larger scale. So the experimentation opportunity when you are doing a transformation top down versus bottom up, top down it is much lesser, whereas bottom up is much higher. The next element we are looking to at is the transformation challenges. The transformation challenges when you are driving transformation top down as against bottom up are quite different, and the significance of those is also quite different. So when you are driving transformation top down, the one of the typical challenges is the expectation from top leadership. The top leadership invariably expects you to be successful, and successful much faster. So you are or you have the pressure of producing results for the leadership to look at a much faster pace, which essentially uh, might force you to drive transformation more in a non-traditional approach. When I say that, probably you are more going by framework driven or a checklist driven transformation, just to show the progress to the senior leadership, and that expectation could drive or make you do things quite differently than you would normally look at, especially when you are talking about transitioning versus transforming. You are more looking at transitioning to be taking place first, and probably look at the actual transformation to happen at a later stage more by itself than being actually driven. So that could be one of the significant challenges when you are driving things top down. Another aspect, as we discussed earlier as well, the kind of resistance you face because of the decisions being made at a pretty higher level, and the impact of those decisions could be at much granular level. So the kind of communications you can undertake could pose lot of challenges, driving higher resistance in the transformation journey. Another aspect, leadership participation more or less is more forced and rather than being voluntary. So it's not a right place for transformation to happen, which means more or less the people at the middle or top management layer are expected to be taking part of the transformation, even though they are convinced or not convinced, which essentially means that you may not uh, again look at their participation wholeheartedly, which can make the next element that we are looking at, the sustenance, being much harder. So that again is another challenge. When you look at bottom up, budget is the biggest challenge, which means you are expected to show results at every point in time, show the efficiency in the transformation. And the challenge is that you may not be able to showcase the results every 3 months or every 6 months in a transformation journey, especially in the initial stages of transformation. So how you are able to get those budgets for you to continue the transformation program is a big challenge when you are driving things bottom up. And of course that's a good challenge to have as well, because it does push you to be the more optimal, or to put in your best to be able to showcase the results that are beneficial for the organization. So budget is the biggest challenge. And the second biggest challenge when you are driving bottom up is the business engagement. So more or less, when you are driving transformation bottom up, the transformation is driven by technology. That means the technology team or leadership is driving the transformation, which essentially means the business is initially not participating or not in favor of the transformation. So that is another big challenge. How you are able to convince business, how you are able to influence business participation, and also look at then further producing results which can help the transformation evolve and move to a higher level or a wider level in the organization. So that is again one of the significant challenges in bottom up approach. Leadership engagement is again another big challenge in the bottom up approach. How you engage senior stakeholders, and how you help them to take ownership for the transformation. And that's again a question we will answer in future videos, as to who actually owns the transformation, who should have the ownership for the transformation, who should be driving the transformation, who should be defining the transformation KPIs. These are some questions again we would look to answer in the future videos. But those are again challenges that you as transformation leader will come across when you are driving things bottom up. And another element when you are driving bottom up, another biggest challenge is how you can move from a project based organization to a product based organization. How you do that transition, and which is very much needed if you are especially looking to scale up the transformation to a higher level at an organization level, and also showcase results which are impacting the end customer, rather than just showing results that are more on showcasing and greater agility in delivery. How can you put in something which is giving a holistic benefit for the organization, and how you can showcase that? So especially when you look at challenges, I firmly believe that the challenges are much higher and much bigger when you are driving transformation bottom up versus top down. But as we discussed earlier as well, majority of the transformations are driven bottom up, which means we need to be equipping ourselves as transformation leaders or change agents to be able to face those challenges and come up with more innovative ways to overcome. The last but not the least, again this is not an exhaustive list, there could be many others, but these are things which I thought are more needing attention for us to look at. So the last one and most critical one is the transformation sustenance. And more often than not we don't see this happening, or even sustenance for people comes at the last. But I strongly believe that you should always start with the sustenance plan right when you are defining the transformation roadmap itself. It's more important to be able to sustain the transformation, even driving the transformation itself, because if you are not planning the sustenance properly and building the capabilities that are required in various teams across the organization to sustain the transformation, then you are more or less making all the effort but putting into a drain. So if your focus is on just transformation and you feel that the sustenance will more or less happen by itself, you are heading for probably showcasing success during the transformation journey till the time it is in the project mode. But the moment you move to run mode, you are more or less coming back to the initial state. And once you come back to the initial state, it takes more than double effort for you to actually go back and do the transformation again. So sustenance plays a big part in the transformation journey. And when you are transforming top down, I think sustenance becomes much challenging because the participation is more forced than voluntary. And also to look at building those capabilities is difficult because you are not you know coming across the various challenges which could pose or which could pull the transformation back when you move to run mode. So if you are not very conscious, very aware, very visible enough, and are able to build that trust and transparency with everybody in the organization, which is a big challenge again, because that has to be built by the whole transformation group. It cannot be an individual effort. So that makes it sustenance much harder when you are driving things top down. When you are doing it bottom up, it's much easier because you are more or less working with each of the individual layers of the organizational setup, and then you understand where the challenges lie and what challenges lie, and then you look to build a similar structure or similar capabilities which are needed for those kind of challenges to be taken care of during the sustenance model. So that means sustenance is much easier. Of course, you have to plan for sustenance in either case, but when you plan, or if you plan, sustenance is much easier to achieve in a bottom up approach as against a top down. So that those are the 10 top elements for us to look at overall, which means we looked at transformation vision, transformation focus, sponsorship, leadership, and the change resistance in the first video. And if you have not watched it, I will drop a card right at the top as a link to the video. You can watch that, and we covered rest of the aspects here. So if you like what is being discussed in this channel, please hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon so you don't miss out on the future videos. If you have any questions that you like specifically to be answered, you can put in the comment section below, and we will be happy to put them in our backlog and look at addressing them. And you have all the ways to connect with me, or whether it is on LinkedIn or my own website in the channel banner, and you can look to connect through that. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to connecting with you again in the next video.